Hello, everyone, and welcome to another enriching episode of Beyond the Bar podcast. I'm your host, Denisa Tova. Today, we have here Karen Casey, and let me tell you, she's a firecracker. But she's a remarkable woman who embodies resilience, quick wit, evolution. I mean, both professionally and a nurturing individual, and literally from climbing the ladder from a secretary to paralegal, later venturing into solo law practice, and to now serving as a principal law clerk for a judge. Karen, you are a beacon of perseverance and a woman of strength and character. So, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much. And I do want to take you home with me for that comment. It's very, very much appreciated. Can you see I have a grin from ear to ear? I don't know if you could see it, but thank you for that.
Yes. Yes, you are so sweet. And, the feeling is mutual. You have such a unique journey. And tell us about what led you to become a principal law clerk. I know there was a lot in there.
Oh, there was. So I started off in as a legal secretary, and then I went to school to become a paralegal. And I did that for about 10, 12 years. And I said, I could do this. I know I could do this. And I decided to do it. I went to school. I had to finish my undergraduate degree, so I did that. And then I took the LSATs, and then you know, I entered Toro, and it was fabulous. It was a fabulous journey, not something I think I would do again, because in hindsight, I can't believe I actually did it. Thinking about, you know, what I went through. I mean, my first semester, first year law school was my best. I had like a 3.8 GPA, and it went downhill. Don't worry about it. It went downhill from there. I can't go any higher in my view. So I got married in my first year, first semester, and then I had a baby in my third year law school. So it was quite interesting 4 years, but I am glad I did it. I am, because I knew I could. I knew I could do it. So I did it.
See, and that part right there is what I'm fascinated by is you had reached these various points in your professional journey and said to yourself, well, I can do this. I can do this. And every time you get there, you say, I can do this, and you do it. So that is incredible. How would you describe yourself at the core? What would you say you are at your core?
Well, professionally, I do have a superpower. I wish it was something else, like flying. But my superpower happens to be, I have a good work ethic, you know, and frankly, um, when I strive to do something, either I do it with everything I have, or I might as well not do it at all. So, at my core, I want to be the best person I can be. And that sounds so trite, but it's the absolute truth. Um, I believe in, being a good person and doing a good job. And that's what I strive to do.
Hmm.
It sounds a trite, I know. I don't mean to sound like that because it's so sincere in my heart that that's what I want to be. So that's what I strive to be. I think my mother actually was the one who gave me that strength. Um, I was one of five children, and I'm the youngest. And my mother worked when I was young. My elder siblings would babysit me, frankly. And my mother was a seamstress in a garment workers seamstress. And when I was older, she would take me, and then she became a business manager, pardon me, for the union. And she would take me to these strikes. And there's nothing more exciting than seeing people strike, um, and doing it. in a way where they're not, uh, crazy, because my mother wouldn't do crazy in front of me, but it was very frenetic. It was a lot of excitement, and she rose up through the ranks. So from a seamstress, by the time she retired, she was one of the first women vice president of the union, which was the International Ladies
Wow.
Garment Workers Union, the ILGWU. I don't know if you remember that song. I won't sing it because I'm a better backup dancer than a singer, but it's with the union. So my
Me too.
mother was very, very smart, very strong-willed, and she was tough. And I think I came by it naturally. Frankly, I was born that way, as Lady Gaga says, but not as famous. But it's just the way it was. Just the way it was.
Wow.
It wasn't a question. No
It was the
question.
way
I
it
wanted to
was.
do it. I was going to do it. Right. There was no question. Can I? Should I? Would I? It's kind of like I
Hmm.
sound fabulous, don't I? I mean, really.
You sound authentic. It really comes through.
Thank
Because some people make it sound like a cliche because there is a disconnect between what they say and who they are. With you, it's actually funny because we spoke briefly on the phone, and I'm thrilled because I'm getting to know you better now. But we talked about how we're both direct, and sometimes the
right.
directness with women is sort of misconstrued as, you're being a bitch. So,
Right.
you're, and I think directness to us means transparency, authenticity. You are aware of what you want, what you don't want. You don't have to explain your no, and still, and be a good person in a process. So just going back actually to your mother, we have that in common. My grandmother was a seamstress, and she had her first job when she
Right.
was 5 out of
Right.
18
Amazing.
siblings. So that work ethic that you talked about it really shows. You also mentioned your father, and
Yeah.
he. I'm curious about the piece of advice that he gave you to walk with your shoulders back, even in difficult times. How
Yeah.
has that influenced you when you're navigating any setbacks? And then also professionally, though, back when the roles between men and women were a little more defined.
Right. Well, they're still not as flexible as I think females' perception would like it to be. But my father said to me, "You walk tall, shoulders back, head up, eyes straight ahead. Don't let anybody ever see you put your eyes to the ground." So in that, what he was instilling in me was a sense of confidence, or a facade of confidence maybe, until I grew into it. But I always remember that when I'm in a situation where I feel that I'm going to be, that I start to feel a little nervous, right? Um, I remember what my father says, and I sit up, I put my shoulders back, I look straight ahead, and I walk. And if people believe it, that's great. That's what I want. I want them to
You
believe
fake
that
it,
this
even if you fake it
right.
really well.
Fake it until you're right.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Well,
and
you believe it. I mean, you know what though? There is something to be said about that. Is even putting on a smile when you don't feel like it, and then remembering to put your shoulders back. There's that instant surge of confidence, right? So it's not that you're pretending; it's you reminding yourself. Here's that confident woman.
that's correct. And my father, there were four girls, and I had a brother, and I'm the youngest. And my father was Romanian Jewish. My mother's Sicilian Italian. Don't ask me how that happened. I don't know. But none of us married a nice Jewish boy either, unfortunately, and that cut my father to the quick. We all married Irishmen or Italians or whatever. So, but my father was very family oriented, very family oriented. talented. And it was a good upbringing. I don't think any of us turned out too badly. We're not perfect, uh, but you know, we do what we do, and we've made a good life, we've made a good family. And I think that's what any parent wants to pass on. Besides money, everybody wants to give money to their children when they're gone. My parents spent it all in Vegas, but whatever. So they retired to Vegas, and they had nothing left, but I'm happy about that. Happy, they were happy. That's all there is. If you're happy and life is good, then how can anything follow that? Everything falls into place. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not naive. There are heartaches and heartbreaks and whatnot, but the fundamental glass half full is very true to me.
Hmm. What resets you when, what do you do when you're not working? I'm curious.
Yeah. Okay, so don't laugh at me. I love to read, but the books I read are fantasy books, the classic good versus evil, like Tolkien and The Hobbit, the classic battle between good and evil, where good overcomes evil, and the trials and tribulations that they all go through to get to where they're supposed to be, that makes them such a likable character or characters. So, I love those books. To me, it's an escape. It's also allows me to decompress, because I
Hmm.
mean, how can you not decompress when you're reading about elves and wizards and do all these fabulous things, right? So,
Oh, I actually laughing. You will laugh. I don't read those books, but I did read. I mean, I did watch. What was it? The oh my gosh, what was it called? The Rings trilogy.
right, Lord of the
I
Rings.
yes, thank you. You remember that creature? Was it the swamp creature?
Yeah, Gollum.
Yeah. So okay. So let's see if I can imitate him. Precious. And
It's
that's
so
the I think that's
true.
the only one I saw, and I just till this day when I do that actually for my daughter. She's like, "Mom, you're so corny," but
Yeah.
you can't take yourself so seriously, and we all have stuff, go through stuff, and so I think it's important to have a good dose of sense of humor, and something that allows us to reset. Let me ask you this, because you appear to be such a practical woman. You have lots of experience. So the essence of this podcast is to connect legal professionals so that they can see each other as humans, not court
Right.
adversaries, and also to hopefully improve the image of the legal profession. What do you think? Even on a smaller scale, what would it take to start making that shift in that direction?
In you, you personally, from when I shifted from solo practitioner to where I am now, is that correct? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so more so, and I'm sure you've experienced that's actually a great follow-up question. I'm sure you've experienced that when you are in court and you're dealing with adversary on the other side with another attorney, or back in the day. Um,
Right.
there are some who can truly leave, the case in the courtroom and not take it outside, and there are others who will still look at the opposing counsel, the adversary, as adversary, even outside of the courtroom. And so, I'm trying to humanize this. What can shift in among the legal professionals, even if it's a small thing, that can start uniting them, and they start sort of seeing each other as human beings?
Right. The bottom line, Denisa, is that this is our job. It's a profession but it's a job. So like any job, it can follow you home. Like any
Mm.
job, it could follow you in your everyday work life. So, for instance, if you have a fight with your children in the morning because they won't get up to go to the bus, and you have to be at court by a certain time and you're frustrated, and you go into court and you're still frustrated, that's going to show, right? That's going to show. So, what I think, attorneys who are people, need, we need to leave that at the door, right? So I'm going to be showing my age. So there were books, Jane, Dick, Jane, and Spot, right? See Jane run, see Dick run, and they had this Spot who was their dog. So, and it's a very uh, very simplistic example. I'm not Jane. You're not
Mm.
Dick, and we're not fighting over Spot.
Mm.
I'm advocating for Jane. You're advocating for Dick. And poor Spot just wants to be happy, right? It's very simplistic, except that when attorneys, it doesn't behoove us to become personally involved, right?
Mm.
That's why they hire us to represent them, because we have the knowledge, we have the experience, but we also can be objective about the goals and not subjective, where, the two spouses who are fighting are able to push, each other's buttons still. So
Mm.
we're supposed to be the voice of reason. So
Yeah.
we have there's a lot of great attorneys. Yeah, but in every profession, you have great attorneys, bad attorneys, great teachers, bad teachers, great doctors, bad doctors. Because we're people. We're not robots. We're people who happen to have the education. So if a litigant doesn't click with their attorney, go somewhere else. If you need heart surgery, you don't go to a brain surgeon, right? Or if you go to a
Right.
brain surgeon and you don't feel comfortable, you go to the next brain surgeon because there's more out there. Same thing with attorneys. But it is very disconcerting to me when the fight seems to expand to people who are supposed to be advocating at a
Mm.
level of civility. Doesn't happen often, but like I said, in any profession, it happens just
Right.
because we're people. We're people who have personalities, prejudices, ideas, and thoughts like anybody else. But the main the main issue is advocating what's best for your client. And some attorneys miss that. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of them will grow into it. A lot of them will never understand it. It is the way of the world. That's what makes the world go round. I can tell you,
Yeah.
when I was a private practitioner, there were a handful of attorneys. If I knew they were on the other side, I would tell my clients straight out, "We're going to trial. I just know this
Yeah.
attorney,
Mm.
or
That's
I know this attorney, and we're going to settle because
yeah.
not complex, and we both know what we're doing." So
Yeah, it's where is that thank you for sharing that perspective. There's that line, and it's like there's a difference between we're all human beings and we all carry our set of preferences and experiences. The question is when you let that personal stuff, basically you release it, and it almost becomes meshed with the client's emotional sort of turmoil. And so that it's important to remind yourself it is just a job. and I'm here to fully advocate for my client, but this is my stuff. And I need to be responsible for that and figure out how not to bring it in. I'm a big believer that in order to change or foster any change, you have to start with yourself. So, by a process of one person sort of going within and changing may impact the other person and another person. And like you said, we're only humans, we're not perfect. And you have to carry so much. Well, on a final and a light note, so what makes you laugh your off your butt off?
Well, let me tell you, I enjoy laughing. I wish I was funny. I love laughing. I love comedians. My favorite right now is Joe Coy. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he is hysterical comedian. I love to laugh. As a matter of fact, my husband, one of the things that attracted to him was his sense of humor. When somebody makes me laugh, I feel good. I feel happy. Uh, that's just the way it is. I enjoy um, being happy. It's too much work not to be, I think it takes more work to be hardened than it is to be
Hmm.
happy. And the way I approach life is, uh, I'm kind. I'm just kind. But kindness does not mean I'm weak. I'm not weak. I'm kind. And I try to be kind in everything I do. And I try to be responsive in everything I do. And that was one of the reasons why I had to segue. And I'm very blessed that Judge Leo hired me, because as a solo practitioner, I always said, when I lost my compassion, when I lost my empathy, when I lost my patience, it was time to move on. And I did. Believe me, there are plenty of attorneys I apologize to. The adage, it's not you, it's me. Well, it was true. I was a miserable woman. I was just um, overwhelmed. It was time to move on. And I'm very blessed. I love working for Judge Leo. I love it here. And don't tell anybody, but it's not really work for me. I come in, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. It's not a chore. I'm really, really very, very lucky individual.
That's great to hear that what you're doing, the work you're doing, sounds perfectly aligned with your values and what's important to you. And I think that is so important, very important too. And you set a great example. Thank you, Karen, for this uplifting conversation, for opening up about your, I'd say, vibrant journey and really being vulnerable and really sharing the piece of you with us. It's been nothing short of inspirational, truly.
I appreciate that statement, Denisa. And, we have a mutual admiration society. So, right back at you, girlfriend.
Thank you so much. And to our great listeners and viewers, to dive deeper into Karen's story by clicking on her bio link right below. And remember, every fresh episode unfolds every Sunday, and it's easily accessible through the links on all my media channel platforms with the links below. Until then, stay inspired and curious.